No, I'm not going to put any cars through their paces today. Instead, I'm going to help with a subject I have an equal passion for, helicopters, and something that affects us all, FOD. Now, before you say FOD doesn't concern you, it does. It concerns us all, including me. As a visitor to the Yeovil site, I share a responsibility with you to guard against FOD. But first of all, what does FOD mean?
Foreign object damage.
Screwdrivers, any sort of equipment that may by chance damage the aircraft.
Foreign object debris or damage.
Foreign object debris.
Foreign object
debris.
Foreign object something.
Foreign objects, debris or damage.
A pretty good set of answers there, but let's be clear. FOD means foreign object debris. Okay, so now we know what FOD stands for, but what exactly is FOD? FOD is anything that has been dropped, lost, become detached or unaccounted for in or around aircraft that could create a potential hazard to the aircraft. It can be any object in the wrong place at the wrong time. Simple things: drinks cans, a washer, tools, paper, cardboard, a pen, nuts, bolts, anything. FOD is one of the biggest problems in aircraft manufacturing today. Indeed, it is estimated to cost the world's aerospace industry billions of pounds a year. An enormous amount of money, but there could be a greater cost: human life. Remember this? Caused by FOD on the runway. FOD doesn't just appear by itself, it needs people to generate it. FOD can be introduced throughout all areas of manufacture, support and helicopter operations. It's not just Westland that's involved in combating the problem. The Yeovil site is huge. It covers some 220 acres and at any one time has over 3,000 people working on the site. All need to be aware of the dangers and take responsibility for their actions. As well as Westland, there's a facility producing aerostructures, a build and overhaul centre for transmissions, and a company producing aircraft oxygen and environmental systems. All are involved in guarding against FOD. The airfield is at the end of the chain, and this is where FOD can take its toll. Dom McLean, the chief test pilot, is with me to explain the specific dangers of FOD to helicopters. Dom, what are the risks?
At worst, an aircraft can crash if impacted by FOD. FOD can affect vulnerable systems such as the engine intakes and the rotors. As test pilots, we accept an element of risk, but these risks need to be carefully managed. FOD is a risk which we can all influence. The most important aspect of FOD control is its direct relationship to the lives of people, either involved in flying the aircraft or supporting flying operations from the ground. If FOD around the aircraft is blown by rotor downwash, it may injure personnel or cause damage to ancillary equipment. Flying operations here at Yeovil are dependent upon us being licensed and approved by both the Civil Aviation Authority and the Ministry of Defence. Both these organisations audit us regularly, and if they see a dirty or an untidy airfield, then it can place our flying operations and therefore our business at risk. Just one small incident could have a significant effect on people, valuable aircraft programs and company costs. It's in everybody's interests that the risks associated with FOD are minimised as much as possible.
Even if you don't work on or near the airfield, you can still pose a risk. In the past, there have been problems with litter. It tended to get collected by the prevailing winds into certain areas around the site. A change in the wind direction could have moved that litter, causing it to become a major danger to flight operations. The site has its own cafes and canteen shop, but the careless discarding of food containers can have serious consequences. Everyone has a part to play in ensuring they put used containers and wrappers in the bins provided.
Trevor, it looks like we've got a plastic bag blowing across the airfield there. I don't know whether you can see it.
It's hard to believe that a piece of litter on the airfield could cause damage to an aircraft, but it could happen. Now that we've seen the dangers associated with FOD on the airfield, let's take a closer look at the manufacturing processes. It's here that sub-assemblies for many fixed and rotary wing aircraft, in particular the Superlynx, are manufactured and assembled. Parts are prefabricated and built into basic airframes. Metal offcuts and swarf are natural waste products, but obviously a FOD risk. And this is one of the first places where any debris generated must be removed, particularly in box sections, which will eventually become closed off. Common sense, I'm sure you'll agree, but an action which must be constantly maintained and understood by everyone working in this area of manufacturing. Here, engineers and fitters understand more than most about the outcome of poor cleanliness. Precision engineering of gearboxes and transmission systems is all about attention to detail, working to incredibly tight tolerances and constant monitoring of quality. The potential for FOD here is well known. The odd bit of paper rag, a washer or shim could lie in the bottom of a gearbox for years until a certain flight manoeuvre disturbs it, resulting in a catastrophic failure with almost certain fatal consequences. The emphasis is on vigilance, on everyone being aware of the risks that FOD poses. Fastjet pilots depend on being able to breathe oxygen supplied, filtered and cooled by reliable equipment. Constant evaluation is carried out in this clean area to ensure FOD is not introduced to components. Final assembly of these ECS parts takes place in Class 10,000 clean rooms. Here it's a question of scale. A speck of dust is deemed as contamination or FOD. In the assembly hall, literally thousands of operations take place every day, using thousands of parts and hundreds of tools. It's especially important to guard against FOD here. Tool control was introduced some years ago to track tools and help ensure none are lost on the aircraft. But it's not just tools that can become FOD. Take these bolts found recently by a customer in a cockpit. How did they get onto the aircraft? The only way is that they were taken on board, not used, were overlooked and became FOD. The simple answer here is to only take onto the aircraft what you need. Wearing the correct work clothes can make a difference. Overalls without pockets mean things like pens, money and keys can't fall out into the aircraft. Also, it's the nature of the business to get lots of visitors, whether it's designers, customers, office staff or TV presenters, and this increases the FOD risk. One thing is clear, no one should climb the staging without the supervisor's permission. Is it okay for me to go up?
That's fine.
Thanks. There's always a lot of pressure to get the job done, so the potential FOD risk just grows. In preparing for flight, the key issue is one of awareness. It's no good meeting the deadline if FOD gets overlooked, creating a risk to the aircraft and those on board. Tool control here is even more stringent than in the assembly hall, with each aircraft having its own tool and tally set. Every fitter has to log out the tools they require by replacing the tool with their personal tally. It's a tried and tested system, but every now and then items do get mislaid, triggering a search, costing time and money.
Advise the meeting attendees of the date of the MOD audit on FOD. Have we got those dates yet?
There's a FOD committee which meets regularly to discuss key FOD issues and to implement appropriate actions.
Yeah, we'll phone more detail.
The committee's role is to increase awareness and make improvements in the fight against FOD.
The one in the gear shop.
It was set up as a result of several lapses. Although minor, these lapses did highlight the need to focus on FOD as an area for improvement. FOD doesn't just appear, it's always the result of someone's action. Visitors and outside contractors must be warned of the dangers. Debris picked up in the treads of vehicles, for instance, can get deposited on the site, so we must look out for this danger. A stone is just as capable of bringing down a helicopter as a missile. Unnecessary searching of aircraft for FOD costs time, costs money, and can result in loss of customer confidence and satisfaction. Litter is constantly monitored around the site, and further improvements continue to be made. Contact site facilities with any suggestions and for help with any concerns you may have. It's worth pointing out that the site has an enviable record regarding FOD. There have been no major FOD incidents to date, but that doesn't mean you can be complacent. We all need to be aware of the dangers and take responsibility for our own actions. It's also important that everyone is aware of the problem. Fitters working on the aircraft every day understand their responsibilities when it comes to guarding against FOD. But just because you don't work on or near the aircraft doesn't mean you don't have a role to play. You do. It's vital that everyone works together. Whatever company you work for, or if you're a visitor, you must understand that this site is a completely different environment to the outside world. We all have a responsibility to guard against FOD. Awareness is the key to FOD elimination. Lapses in concentration or thoughtlessness are not excuses when it comes to FOD. There is a cost in financial terms, but the greater cost is in lives. As I leave, there's one fact that will remain with me, and that is that FOD is a potential killer, but it's a killer that can be controlled. Bye.